Does it work?
Yes, so we are live now. Good
Okay, great.
afternoon. Today, our guest is Professor Martin Feeder, and Professor Feeder has a revolutionary thesis. It's about the demographic revolution in Europe. Will the demographic revolution in Europe make European societies more conservative? What inspired that research?
Oh, I'm an evolutionary biologist, and we are always wondering why the people have political attitudes. And we know from data, from genetic data, the political attitudes have a substantial genetic basis, about 55%. 55% of a political background, if you're left or right, has a genetic basis. And so there's always a question, what's evolution? If something has a genetic basis, there should be some evolutionary things going on. Without evolution, not possible. And this was the question. And we already did figure out in 2018, we take the World Value Survey and looked at the World Value Survey and looked how many children people have according to political attitudes. And we found that as well the left wing and the right wing side, worldwide and worldwide data, have most of the children. So this is called then so-called balancing selection. As means balancing selection means that both attitudes are kept in the population. So both extremes in this way have a really big advantage, a really big reproductive advantage, have more kids. And if
Why?
someone, yeah,
Why do extreme people have more children?
this is very interesting. I don't know. In politics, we don't know already, but with both sides, on the left, on the right, worldwide, have most of the children. Not in European societies, not in the States. In the States, Europeans is totally different. We've moved only to the right side. In both US and in European countries, only the right wing people have more children. Meanwhile, this did really shift. 20 years ago, 1918, in the United States, in the old state of the United States, left wing people did have more children, and this did really shift only to the right wing advantages. So only right wing people have more children, and also in Europe, just the same in Europe. And this means, in fact, just simple and just very easily that the people will get more. And so this is very, very moderate people. This is not a very hard right shift. This is a moderate shift towards to the right because there are more people writing with more right-wing attitudes. And we see it in Europe and also in the States.
How do you determine the genetic basis of political orientation?
If this didn't we do, there's some guys from the States, Peter Temi, Matthews, Nick Martin, just 15 experiments. If you have twins, uh, um, you have fraternal twins and you have monozygotic twins, and you have both, and you have a political attitude. You ask people what they're voting for, and then you get really you can estimate from monozygotic twins and dizygotic twins how high is the heritability of all attitudes. And from the data from Peter Temi, we know about 55 to 60%, 50 to 60% is inherited if you're left wing or right wing. For twin studies, and meanwhile, the first big genetic data are going is going to proceed, and this shows quite the same things with some molecular data. So that's the reason why we know political attitude has a genetic basis. But that's
All
not
right.
we didn't do it. This is Peter Temi, Nick Martins, many guys worldwide.
All right. So, what are the traits that biologists use to determine political orientation? So, should right wing people be more traditional, more
Yes,
conscientious? Oh,
yes.
okay.
Yes, yes, yes. And you ask people, are you right wing or left wing? What do you vote? It's very easy in the United States, mostly divided to Republicans and Democrats. And you ask people what they're voting for. You ask people are left or right. And when you ask people about migration, about homosexuality, about conservatism, and so on, and you get a whole bunch of questions. And so you can easily determine if someone is right wing or left wing.
All right then. So, why are traditional people more likely to have children?
We don't know. We suppose our thing is 20 or 30 years ago, it was not in this way. Both sides become many children, so left wing and right wing children. We think that the reason is because the left wing seem to have take contraceptives more effective, which is our explanation. Because if you look at right wing people, we have more desire for children. If you're in old cultures worldwide, right wing people, conservative people like to have children, and this is a little bit so overstated. But in left wing people like also children, but also like having sex. But if you have like to having sex and you have very good contraceptives, you won't get some children by chance. This is idea. We don't know it in exactly why it's the case, but it's an idea what may happen.
All right. And then you mentioned that left wing people, they are less emotionally invested in traditional institutions like the family.
Yes. We're more, not. They are also, but not the strongest right wing clique. Yes, in all cultures worldwide.
I
It's
find it interesting that in America over 30 years ago, left-wing people were having more children.
Yes, it's also very interesting. We think this has maybe to do. You remember the 68 revolution, the left
Yes.
wing revolution, and maybe this is also behind this kind of revolution. Simple the fact that left wing people had more children. It's just simple. It did really change. And in pattern, we only know it from the United States. It did change. As in all the countries worldwide, you have really both sides, both extreme have more children. Both sides. When middle, the fewest children have people in the middle, but in the States it was 30 years ago in a left-wing advantage, and it really shifted to a very strong right-wing advantage. And this is moderate. People are not very they're not on a very extreme side, but this will really shift the societies from left-wing attitudes to more right-wing attitudes.
I think extreme people have more children because they have a socially dominant and aggressive personality.
Yeah, it makes also yes, could be. Yeah, you're completely right. We don't know. I'm no
Yeah,
psychologist.
neither yes, and they could also be a bit more promiscuous.
Yes. Of course, yes.
Yeah, they meet more
It's
people,
possible.
etc.
Yeah,
That's why
of
they have
course,
more
yes.
children.
So this will change our societies moderately, and not too big, but there's a big demographic trend behind maybe what we really experience in the States and in Europe and most in Western countries. But not in the third world, not in other countries, not at all. In fact, it looks totally different in South America. It is, you have again with two sides in Africa, just the same that left-wing people and right-wing people have more children. This changed now to only right-wing people advantage, reproductive advantages.
What about grandchildren?
We have also more grandchildren, just the same. Well, more grandchildren. If you have more children, you have also more grandchildren. It's just simple. More children means more grandchildren, and more grandchildren. So if someone of my children here, statistically, he or she is supposed to have more children also in the next generations, in the consecutive generations. Yes.
Did you yield any data on the education of the sample? So were the right wing people more educated than the left wing people?
Just the same, all the extreme. In the right wing, only the really, really very extreme right wing, the less educated, but it's no difference. There's really no difference. You can correct, it's the same. We did calculate some multivariate models, it's no difference. Education doesn't explain this, the finding, doesn't explain it. Also, income doesn't explain it. So if you really have multivariate models, it's some many thousand individuals, and if you correct with multivariate models, education has no effect. Yes, effect on reproduction, but it doesn't affect these differences between left and right wing. So it has an effect, but the effect is not that strong, but it would influence the outcome. Yeah.
How dynamic are the change in views? So what do people say about homosexuals, especially the right wing people, because they are more reproductive?
Yeah, we are really, as the most people over the change society are not really, most of the people are not against homosexuality, but they're not as open as left wing people. So with also the attitude, also the homosexual people will change slightly. There's very slight effects. There's some changes, but slight effects. It's not a big change, but there's no right-wing people are less open to homosexual people than left-wing people. With a very good study. We didn't do it in detail, but this is a study by Vogel and Friese in the United States. Very interesting data in the United States that the attitude towards abortion, homosexuality did change in the states, and this explains also to some extent the argue that Trump had won the vote. In fact, so there's better data from the United States, but Vogel and Friese has a PNAS paper. I can send you a paper from PNAS. It's a very interesting paper. We did a lot of it. We have also some data on homosexuality, but not with good data as Vogel and Friese had in their PNAS paper.
All right. So, Professor Feeder, we are going to continue on this topic, the topic of demography. I didn't remember this. I'm familiar with this paper, but this paper had multiple co-authors, and you were not the lead author, but I remember reading the paper. You're also interested in research on intelligence, the Flynn effect.
Yes, but it was not. I only had provided data. To be honest, I don't know anything lot about it. I was only provided data because
okay.
This is not my topic. This is not
okay,
my topic.
okay.
Yeah. So sorry, I can't tell you. You have to ask
Michael Woodley-Avnini.
Yes, you have to ask him because he knows. I had the data, the genetic data.
I don't know. I've interviewed a lot of people on intelligence and IQ, but I didn't remember that you were also one of the co-authors on that paper.
This is only my purpose, also to provide data. I'm not
data.
I'm not familiar with this kind of research.
You're not interested in intelligence.
Yes, but I'm not familiar. I don't work.
Okay, all right. Well, since you have the quantitative data skills, maybe you should do more IQ-like research.
Yes, would be interesting.
I'm being controversial. I'm pushing you over the edge. I think I don't think people should shy away from that type of research. It's really important. But back to this paper, you keep saying that the changes are evolutionary; they are not radical. Why would you say that? What's the data size like? So, for example, right-wing people are having more children, but how will that not lead to a demographic revolution in conservative politics? Because they're saying, based on what the study has shown, the changes are evolutionary. They're not going to be transformative.
They're small, but they're very broad but small. It's been not revolutionary, but the changes were, and the society will become all the parties. I think all the parties will shift to the right on the long run to the right side, slowly moving to the right side. All the parties. It's not dramatically, but I think it's like the same with the 1968 revolution. There's a shift of the whole political system to the right side, a small moderate shift. It was on the left side, and it shifts now constantly to the right side. Not very dramatically, externally dramatically. In Europe, the discussion of migration may lead to much more dramatic shift, but beyond the shift, there's a small gradual shift to the right. This will stay there but has been 20 years, I think, has been on the left side, the political spectrum, and it shifts slightly to the right side on the political spectrum. It's not dramatic, but it's substantial. This will happen. And this happened in the States and also in Europe, yes.
Yes, you did mention in the paper that conservatives have a fertility advantage, and that has influenced votes for Republicans in America.
Yes.
Name the most conservative countries in Europe based on the data. Which country was really conservative?
Really conservative. It's not in Europe. Georgia, for instance. It was also, I think, the data set Georgia is very, and Israel. Israel is not in Europe, but Israel very conservative. And Israel is conservative because of migration. This is totally different, a different reason, because many very traditional Jews went to Israel. And now it really has a very conservative politics because we have more children. We did have many more children, about 6 children per woman, I think. Conservative. So Israel is a very good example. Also Georgia is an example. Most of the Middle European countries are more or less the same. They're not very different, but Georgia is a very conservative example, and Israel is really very conservative. But just because of migration, because very Orthodox Jews went to Israel, they had more children, about 6 to 7 children, and so the society gets more conservative in Israel. Yeah.
There's this factoid that's quite interesting. Right wingers have on average fewer living siblings than left wingers. Is this because right wing siblings die, or because right?
No. This is the same effect. This is interesting right in the States. This is the first generation. In this first generation, there's no difference in the number of siblings, and little bit less. And that is changed to right wing advantages because it was really equal for in this generation. They're now about 65 years old. It was just equal, but it changed now to a big advantage for right wing. But it's the same with the United States. If you look at the data 20 or 30 years ago, that the left, maybe with the same effect, that the left wing people had more children. Just the same effect. And this was it changed. It changed from generation to generation. So it's get more conservative. This is a
Did,
hint what we have for that this will become more conservative. Yeah.
did you uncover anything interesting on countries like Bulgaria and Russia?
Uh, except that we have no, not really. The difference is not. I don't have data on. I have only data. Maybe let's have a look. I've here my article with me.
Yeah.
Yes, it is, but no, not really. With Russia, we had no good data for Russia. We had no good data for Russia, but yeah, Bulgaria in the thing was just the same. Though I don't have Bulgaria in this sample. No, there's no Bulgaria. Let's see. Well, next visits will have, I think. Switzerland, Belgium, Luxembourg, Slovakia, Estonia. No, we're not. The biggest difference in France, maybe also migration in France. It could be also migration because many the people are coming from Muslim countries are more conservative, no doubt on this. And maybe it's in France and also in Germany, but other countries is just in the same range. It's not big difference. And also it's not in this data plot because it didn't put it Israel, as I told you, and we know it from Georgia, but it didn't have it in this data set because it's totally not Europe. We didn't put, but Georgia is very, very conservative.
Yes. Georgia, Bulgaria. Well, Eastern and Central European countries, they are usually a bit more right-leaning than Western.
Yeah. This is Germany. I'm from Austria. Austria was also more right-leaning. Germany more left-leaning. So if you go to North Germany, it's a north-south gradient. In the north, we're more left. In the south, more right. And in the east, really more right. And it's also demographics, because as you know, in East Germany, all the young women did leave East Germany. And men are usually more conservative, and the men stay in Eastern Germany. So Eastern Germany, the AfD is going very high because simply also demographics. The people, most of the young educated women did leave to West Germany, and the men did stay in Eastern Germany. So maybe also demographic effect, and it's more countryside. Left-wing people went to the cities, to the big cities. In Eastern Germany, have except of Berlin, no big cities, no very big cities, and they moved to the Western German cities. And in the countryside is always all countries more conservative. So it's really a pattern. If you look at the last votings in Germany, you had the Conservative Party, the traditional Conservative Party, with CDU, CSU in Western Germany, and also some Social Democrats. Eastern Germany complete to AfD. Put to AfD, and this might also have to do a lot of demographics because the people, when the left-wing people went to the big cities and from away from the countryside in the big cities of Western Germany, and the more conservative people did stay on the farming side, on the flat land in Eastern Germany. So this is also different. Also, States, there's the same effect in the States. In the United States, you have affected the people on the farm sides. This is choosing for where you're living. Obviously, people think you choose also political orientation. More right-wing people like to live on the suburban areas and like to live on the countryside, and more left-wing people like to live within the big cities. It's very interesting. It's also where you live, the place you live, has a lot to do with your political orientation. Yes.
Some people think that density affects birth rates. High-rise apartment buildings might not be suitable for raising families. That's a
Yes.
good debate now. The space is a bit too small.
Yes, yes, of course. And it's more expensive. Of course, the city population has less children because it's too expensive in Austria. It's very, very expensive. So, but it's maybe also reason. It could also reason why left-wing people have fewer kids. It's also a good explanation. Also, we don't know it exactly. We think it has something to do with contraception, but it could also, with the people, if you went to the big cities, you have a big problem that you can't afford the living, the apartment. Yeah, you're completely right. Yes.
You're from Austria.
Yes, I'm from Austria.
Austria did not dominate the headlines in relation to the refugee crisis.
Yes,
Did
but
what happened in Austria? Was there an influx of refugees into Austria? I don't remember.
yes, we have a second most
Okay.
refugees in the second most after Cyprus, more than Germany.
But if that is true, why don't we read about Austria in the news more frequently? It's always Germany or Netherlands or some other country.
Because we are a very small country, we're not that important. Just simple. We're not that important, so it's not nobody cares about Austria. It's a very small country. Germany has a tenfold population. We have 9 million inhabitants. Germany 90 millions. Germany is a much bigger player, and also
Yes,
Netherlands. It's much bigger.
yes. Sweden is also a small country,
Yeah.
but some argue that immigrants are not integrating well in Sweden. Are they doing better in Austria? Because as I said,
It
I,
depends.
I,
This is not now. In moment, not in moment. We have big problems, but it depends. The first wave of migrants who came in 2015, 2016 has been very educated, and
okay,
now we have an uneducated analphabets. In fact, about 50 to 70%, and this is really big problem. It's a very, very
oh,
huge problem.
okay,
This
okay,
is not possible. It won't work because the first wave we got from until 2015 or 16, the people get really very well educated, like in every movement. But now they're not educated. We a big problem. We have many discussions here.
okay,
50% analphabet. We don't speak German. Of course, we don't write anything. So it will be a big problem. In fact. And we are
okay.
now going. Our government is going to slow down migration because we can't afford it. We did have asylum applications for a country like Austria to give you a number about 450,000 since 2015. This is really much more than Germany in size in the to respect to the population size. So which is it has to be too much. It was no problem until I think to middle of 2016 because the people had been educated, mostly been educated, but now they're not educated at all, and this makes really big problems in schools.
Okay. But there have been examples of immigrants who appear to be integrated based on education and income, and some of them are still engaging in terrorist activities.
Yeah, yes,
So
of course.
surprisingly, well, the approach is based on culture. So Western cultures are individualistic and high in openness. I was born in Jamaica,
Yep,
and when the Asian immigrants, well, refugees, however you opt to describe them, when they enter Jamaica
yep,
illegally, they are deported.
yeah,
End of story. We send them home.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, in Austria, in Austria, we have asylum seek. We don't deport. We do, but this problem. The people come there and will stay there. We have no chance to deport them, and that's a big problem. This is
No,
that's
but
really
that's a choice. Europeans make those choices. Jamaica is not a rich country. Austria is rich, but we
yes.
have to be smart. Maybe Austrians think that they will never face a financial crisis, so they can import everybody.
Yeah, of course. This is legal from Constitution for European Union, and this was in some ways crazy because this doesn't work. So we have to give everyone asylum. There's no problem if you check the asylum and you could move back the people to where they come from if they don't get the asylum. But we had not the chance. It's not possible. They stay all here. And this is a really big problem. This is a big discussion. There's
Yeah.
additionally right-wing parties are rising in Austria, very, very strong rising because of a very strong immigration. And now I think this will really stop in all Europe because you can't afford it at the moment. It's not possible to afford it.
Yes, but you also do research on status and reproduction
Yes.
in the pre-industrial era.
Yeah.
Would you
Yeah.
like to talk about that research? I'm interested in that type of research.
Yeah, we only showed evolutionary, which is not very as evolution that rich men have more kids. That's mostly rich men really find much easily a wife and have more kids. Just simple. This is matching, and most of the selection and the pressure on men for income has been really increased in the last, also in the United States, in the last 20 to 30 years increased. So it's like you really expected from evolution studies. You get, if you have more income, you more easily find a wife, and you have more kids. This is evolutionary biology. Like we know it from every tribal society, from every society in the world. Men with higher income have more kids. This is the main story of social status. We write a
Yes,
book on this, and this is always thought from social scientists. This is not true, but it's true everywhere you look. Where each country of the world, if you have more status, more resources, you have more kids, you're more likely to find a wife. In some countries, more than one wife, and you get more kids. This is main
yes.
main.
I find that in research interesting because I want to know if, on average, the richer and better educated people who are having more children.
Yeah,
Because
in
that's
men, yes.
Gregory Clark's argument.
Yeah. Men, yes, in men, of course, men is true. It changes also in northern countries. Meanwhile, in men, always richer men and better educated men with more income have more kids. In men, not in women, but it changes in northern Europe. We know, meanwhile, in northern Europe, in Sweden, Norway, Denmark, and also Finland, that also women, better educated women with higher income, start also to have more children. Interestingly. But we don't know why. It's also completely in the last 5 to 6 years. Martin Kolk did many studies, also Rosemary Hopcroft, our co-worker, wrote the book, and really find that men, all societies worldwide, since every time men with high income have more kids. No, 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 no doubt on this. But now it changes also in the northern countries. Also, women have more kids. As rich women and rich men both have more kids, and this is very interesting. We didn't expect this. We don't know it why. We
Yeah,
just
yes, I've seen some recent studies showing that the relationship between income and reproduction in the
yeah.
West is being reversed. So some smarter and richer people today are having more children. I've seen data for Sweden
Yeah, it did
and
change. It did
some,
change. In the
yes,
last
and some
five to
parts
ten
of
years, it's
America.
very interesting. We don't know why. We not really don't know why. Because in all tribal societies, in all the ancient societies, it's all true for women. Rich people did have more kids. Big changes in the course of a demographic transition, and now it seems to change back. But why? We don't know.
Well, I would like to speculate, Professor. The studies on fertility can be a bit contradictory because some will argue that income affects fertility positively, some will say it affects fertility negatively, and then we have many examples of poor people having children. So, based on my assessment of the data, it doesn't appear that income is that important. I think what matters is the change in social dynamics. So we live in a world where some upper class people are becoming pro-natal, like Elon Musk, for example, and other
Yes, of
billionaires.
course, of
They're
course.
becoming pro-natal. So elites are changing the culture. Cultural change is often propelled by elites.
Yeah, yes, yeah.
There
You're
are
right.
people. Yeah, I know there's this research fellow at a or at an organization in America. He's Catholic, and he has a couple of children.
Yes.
So it's now becoming fashionable for upper middle class people to have
Yes, of course.
multiple
It's,
kids.
it's also true, but in men you really find if you have if a low income man, you have a very high chance that you never find a wife. Which was American data. If you look in since in 1900, income didn't explain anything for a man to ever find a wife. But in the cohort of 1950, 1975, it explains about 25% of a chance in the variance to find ever a wife. So we want men with the insulin movement, in fact, the men who won't find we did increase because we are too low in income. In men, it's completely right culture in the upper class, in men and women, but in men, it's really the case. If you have no income, you get really big problems to find a wife, and this did increase. Income get more important.
Yeah, and what will this portend for society? Because unmarried men are more problematic. They take more
Yes,
risk. They're more delinquent.
yes, of course, of course. That's really, yeah, that's really a problem. We take more risk. We're more dangerous. We're really more violent. Unmarried men is really problematic. Yes, It's problematic. No, no. And incel, look at the incel movement. The incel movement get really
Yes.
very aggressive. The incel.
But what's interesting, there are just studies saying that in incels, some of them are popular online, but for the most part, they are mentally unstable. Many of them are not right wing,
Yes,
they're not
yes.
white, and they are intellectually disturbed. So in incel culture, people take pride in not having a woman. And if a member of the incel culture deviates, he is rejected by other incels.
Yeah, yeah.
But they have internalized their insecurities. Personally, I think that the incel culture is not problematic because most of them are really weak people. They're not dominant. So it's a positive because we really don't want people like that to be reproducing who are unstable.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Exactly. We don't really, yeah. I'm just being objective.
Yeah, yeah,
That,
of course. Yeah.
that
But
type of personality.
too many. I mean, well, too
Yeah, yeah,
many.
yeah, exactly. They're selecting themselves out of the population.
There are too many. Meanwhile, there are too many incels. It's not good for society.
Yeah, because
Too
if
many.
if somebody like yourself or professor middle age professor is talking about incels, obviously you're annoyed. You don't like them.
Yeah, 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 of course. But it grow. But it too many, and this will be for some time problematic. It's also a kind in Europe with a male-dominated migration, where 80% of migration are male. So it's no problem if you're educated. We find the first students find good jobs, and so now, meanwhile we have a big problem that they're not educated. So we get frustrated. We get really frustrated, and if we get frustrated with the incel culture, but we really went to the radical Islam. Where it's okay with stupid Western culture, we don't like it, and we really move very strongly to Islam because we can't read, we can't write, and they get very very frustrated. Not the first movement of the people who come from Syria and Afghanistan, they have been educated, no problem. They have now, meanwhile, many of them have jobs, but what come afterwards, after 2016, they get really very frustrated, and this is dangerous. They get frustrated, and they're not insults, but they go very conservative Islam meanwhile. Very conservative Islam, and this will make big problems in Europe in the future
Yes,
because it's really
it
frustrated.
creates problems because there are women, and I'm being contentious here. There are women who will go to court to defend men who
Yeah,
rape women.
yeah.
Yes, so
It could
Europeans seem to be afraid
yeah
uh,
it could
to
it
punish
could
them.
it would be problematic. Always more men, a surplus of men is always problematic. We know it from many data. A surplus of men is never very nice. It's always problematic. A surplus of men. Yeah.
But Professor Feeder, do you have grandchildren?
No, I have only
Yep.
a child. I have no grandchildren.
Or
My
how old
daughter,
are
have
your children?
please.
How old are your children?
22.
Oh, just one?
Just one, only one. Yeah,
Okay. A boy or a
only
girl?
one. No, I'm typical academics. Typical
Okay.
academics.
Okay, all right.
Uh,
Okay. So I asked the question because if you had grandchildren, you'd be thinking about the effects of immigration on the socialization of your grandchildren.
yeah, yeah. It will be yes. Could be also my child. It could be. It could. Well, let's see what's happening in Europe. But I think we will now really break the migration. We really, it's too much. We can't afford
Yeah,
it.
well, no, I agree. No, I'm in favor of free labor and free trade. I'm a libertarian, but when it
Yes.
comes to migration, if people migrate to any country, they are on their own. So if you choose to migrate to Austria or Germany,
Yes. Yes.
you're
Yeah.
expected to work and take care of yourself. I don't believe in welfare. My solution is simple. If you are an immigrant, only your third generation should be entitled to welfare if it is a welfare state.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
first the first people who migrate, they work, their children work, and by the third generation, they get the privilege to
Okay.
benefit from
You're right.
welfare.
You're American. It's different. But in
No,
Europe,
I studied in the UK, but was born in Jamaica.
Jamaica. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
And now you live in America. It's
no,
America.
no, UK.
Oh, you're in UK.
Yes,
I thought you were in the States. Okay, I see.
no, no.
Okay,
I,
okay,
I studied in the UK, still live in the UK, but was born in Jamaica.
okay, great. No, you're completely right. Yes,
Yeah, so if you choose to migrate, like when, like for in my case, I went to the UK. I paid my own bills. I was studying as a student. and I worked as a freelance writer, I chose to migrate, so I have to pay my own bills. If you migrate with the intention to depend on welfare, you shouldn't be in the country. Immigration is about taxation because taxpayers, they're funding the welfare state, so they should
Okay.
have a say in the people who are admitted into the country.
And what did you study, when may
No,
I ask?
history. I have a history degree.
Okay, okay, so very
Yes.
interesting. Very
Well,
interesting.
yeah, and because of my history background, I'm really interested in civilizations and
Oh, it's
what
great.
makes them rise and fall. So that's why we're having this conversation. That's why I'm interested in
Oh, very
intelligence
interesting.
and
Very,
IQ.
very interesting. Very interesting.
Yes.
Yes.
So what
Yeah,
else
you're
are you?
right. You're probably right. We have a welfare which makes also problematic in Austria. We have a very big welfare state, and this makes we
Yeah,
can't afford it. We can't afford it.
Martin, did you read what's his name? Jan. His first name is Jan. Jan de Beek. He is paper and books on immigration. Let me type it in.
No, 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 no.
Yeah, he's from the Netherlands.
Okay.
Jan de Beek.
Mhm,
Ah, yes, Jan van de Beek.
mhm,
He
mhm.
has a new book on the cost of
No, no,
immigration.
no, no. I have to look. No, I don't know it.
Yeah,
No,
it's
thanks.
really good. It's really good.
Oh,
Immigration in the welfare state. So
I have to read it. Okay, okay. I
he
don't know.
breaks down the contribution of immigrants
Uh-huh.
by country of origin, even showing
Mhm,
the effects of second generation immigration.
mhm, mhm. Oh, okay, but it's very interesting. No, I
Yeah, it's
didn't.
really good, and I'm not surprised by his findings. Western immigrants, they do well. If you want to recruit immigrants, recruit people from Western Europe, no,
Mhm.
North America, and East Asia.
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
They,
of
they
course. Yeah.
do they do well, and South Africans of European descent, they also do well.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, of
Yeah.
course, yeah, yeah. So we change. We change in Austria. Will change things a lot because we can't afford it. There's too many people, and the schools we don't in the schools only from 30 people only two speaking German, and this makes really big problems in the moment.
No, but no. Uh, I'm not going to be facetious. I don't. It's not my intention to insult anybody.
Yeah.
But when you're in school and you study history, as a Jamaican, we study European history in detail.
Hmm.
World War One, World War Two, French Revolution,
Yeah.
Russian Revolution, Nazi Germany. There was a book that we used to use in school,
Hmm.
History of Modern Europe. This is in Jamaica.
Yeah. Yeah.
Portuguese imperialisms, Iberian colonialism. It was really deep.
Yeah.
So when you study European history, you're told that this is the land of liberal constitutionalism.
Hmm.
You, Europeans started a global movement to abolish slavery, the Enlightenment, and you say, okay, this is a relatively intelligent society. But these days, I don't know. I think Europeans are stupid. Yeah,
Yeah.
people are so stupid. I really wonder
No.
if Europeans
No.
are.
I think the problem is different. The problem that's happened to Europe is that we fought, and most of governments that always will go very peaceful in the world. We hadn't prepared. We hadn't prepared for a dramatically changing world. I think Europe wasn't prepared for a dramatically changing world. European Union is very important and really very good peaceful project, but it wasn't really prepared for a really completely. Look at the war in Ukraine and so on.
Yes.
We hadn't been prepared. We've been completely, and now our politicians are to some extent helpless. They don't know what to do. We think that's a problem. The problem is literally with Europe. Europe starts now to prepare, but Europe always think you probably know it. This is the end of history. History, no, the
Yes.
end of history. And
Fukuyama.
yes, yeah, Fukuyama, and it really, I think most of the European governments think, oh, this is the end of history. We have no history. Everything's perfect. We're going well, and now we really wake up and see there's no end of history. And I think that's a big problem. And now we're going to prepare. But really, they hadn't prepared for anything. But really,
Yeah.
it's
Do you know
some.
why Europeans were so ill prepared? Because people did not take Huntington seriously, the clash of civilizations.
Yes, 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 of course, yeah, yeah.
I
So
was
yes,
online and I saw an article on
yeah,
foreign policy, and the person was basically saying that
yeah, yeah.
maybe Huntington was right.
Yeah, see, it's right. And the next thing I think we did the university did move to this. I think to this really kind of some branch of the social science where this no have no data, like gender studies, like all these things, like Judith Butler. This is so
Yeah,
completely.
no, Professor Fido, I'm going to be honest.
Yeah.
A university must teach courses like history and philosophy. If you're not teaching
Yes,
those
of
courses,
course,
you're
of
not,
course.
you're not a university. You're a training
Yes,
institution.
yes. Yeah.
But the gender studies should go. The gender studies, the FAD study,
Yes.
the
Yes.
people who want to study
Yes.
women history, all of those people should just go.
Yes, no, no, but it has to be. The problem is it get too powerful, politically too
Yes.
powerful, and it influence too many things. And there's some really crazy ideas that can't work. It really, it's so crazy. It's completely crazy. And as biologists, always this won't be able to work. And this could really so many influence the politics and so on. And now we wake up and see this doesn't work. The problem is always things that won't work. So we're
It
really
doesn't
very
work.
theoretically wonderful, but only theoretically. It's only theory and very esoteric theory. So this
Do
and
you know what I want somebody to study?
yeah.
I want somebody to explain to me why some countries respond favorably to modernization and
Mhm.
others do not.
Yeah,
When the Japanese implemented mass schooling, their students did really well.
yeah,
Other
yeah,
countries have been exposed to Western culture for decades and their grades are still poor.
yeah, yeah.
Just I want somebody to explain that event to me. Why were East Asians so responsive to modernity?
Which is a good question. I don't know. I really very
Exactly my point. And the colonial argument doesn't make much sense
no, no.
because yeah, let me tell you, like I have a co-author and we're planning to publish a book on
Yeah,
Africa.
yeah,
I have discovered that many colonies, both in Africa and the Caribbean, they entered independence
yeah,
in a strong position.
yeah.
They had enough schools and educated people to thrive. But
Mhm,
Botswana was a bit different. Botswana entered independence with less
mhm,
than 200 graduates. The
mhm.
quality of human capital in Botswana was low. But look at Botswana today, it has outperformed many countries.
Yeah, yeah.
So that shows that history is not a prison. We're not enslaved to history.
No, no, no. You're completely right. Maybe demographics. I don't know. Where some countries really to really proceed very well, and others don't. I don't know. In fact,
Because
but I think. But look, I think they always the Islamic world. I think the Islamic world is also my colleagues to maybe know Vegard Skilbeck, that the Islamic world will perform not every country, not Afghanistan, but you really find in all Islamic countries very dropping of birth rates, big dropping of birth rates, and the mistakes that the Saudis did 20 years ago, that you only did sponsor some Islamic teaching in Muslim university, did end, and we really support me with universities, very good universities. So many colleagues and many of my colleagues think like Vegard Skilbeck and I, that in 10 years, 10 to 15 years, we really experience in the Islamic world the really uprising of economics because of the low birth rates. In Syria, you have now, meanwhile, 2.5 children per woman, and of course, because of the high investment in education. But it's always the same. Look, the same in Turkey. But there's always Erdogan wants to make some Islamic country, but it's impossible because we have a birth rate of 1.6 children in Turkey, like Europe. Turkey is the same like Europe because industrialization. It's its work, and I think the same will happen in many Muslim countries in the next 10, 20
No,
years.
be specific. The Muslim countries that are well, I wouldn't even refer to any of these countries as progressive because they have some restrictive laws. But Saudi Arabia, Dubai, those countries,
Yeah, yeah.
richer countries that are a bit more modern, they will do well. I'm expecting
And
them
they
to
invest, and
rise.
they invest, meanwhile, invest in Morocco.
Yes.
I've been in Morocco. They invest in education. So, and the birth rates everywhere dropping. The birth rates are dropping, and people are educated. There will be economic advances. Not in Afghanistan. Afghanistan is certainly back. Also, Egypt is too overpopulated. But other regions, presumably in 10 years, will really find in a better way and really economically on a better way. We hope, and I think it's not out of order, but this could really happen from this country.
But
So
so
we will
if
see.
they improve, does that mean that they're going to stay in their country?
Yeah, of course, we'll stay. Of course, I think the migration pressure for Europe from a Muslim country will be over in 10, 15 years. Will be not from Afghanistan. Afghanistan is obviously a certain problem because it's so poor and it's so tribal culture. But the other, we will think in 10 years the migration pressure will end. And also in Syria. It ends in Syria, meanwhile. We don't know what will happen in Syria because of Islamic regime. But it will end. And maybe if we don't completely crazy, the people will go back to Syria, and then Syria will also have 2.1 or 2.5, 2.4 children, which is not very, it's not a high birth rate. And 20 years ago or 30 years ago, Syria had a birth rate of about 6 children per woman. It's really a really youth bug, and that's a problem. Youth bug always, you have so high birth rates, and you have many young people, you're getting problems. That's maybe the explanation. But I don't know. If for global, I'm not. I can only guess why some people, some countries are really behaving so well, and some other countries not. I don't know. It's not so easy.
I think that Syria could improve. The leader of Syria, we know his background already, but he seems to be interested in institutional economics. So if he takes the literature seriously, probably Syria will improve. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure. No, if it puts it totally to Islamic, it's been problematic. But if it's on a good way, the birth rate's really dropping and the education is increasing. Like also Turkey is now has an economic crisis, but Turkey, in fact, Erdogan it really improved for Turkey. If you in Turkey, it really improve a lot. Turkey in the last years. So it's really a big economy, Turkey. So it's not written completely, but couldn't improve. So we can hope. We don't know. Hopefully, but
All
some of
right.
my colleagues really think they will improve. Yes.
All right. Thanks for coming on. But before we go, what are you working on now? What are you writing?
In a moment, I just did some genetic stuff about body size. If some colleagues of me, some body size, the genetics of body size, just very technical stuff.
Okay. All right. So thanks for coming to an
Thanks
interesting
also. Thanks
discussion.
also. Very nice to talk with you. And again, if you like, every time.
Of
Okay.
course. I might invite your co-author, Susanna.
She doesn't like podcasts.
Oh, she doesn't like
No,
podcasts.
no, no. She doesn't like it. No, she won't. She won't. She will reject. She says, "Oh, I had to do it. I should do it." Also, she
No,
had
but
this.
that's a problem. Do you know why it's a problem? Because she's a woman, and women should advertise their research more.
Yeah, yeah. She doesn't like it all. She doesn't like it all. She doesn't like. I don't
No,
know.
but people complain about the gender gap
I know.
in
I know. No. Okay.
academia,
Yes.
and but women need to talk more.
Yeah. No. Yes, you're completely right. But she doesn't like it. She doesn't like it at all. You really.
Okay, then all right. I
Yeah.
can't force her.
Thanks a lot. Thank you. Very nice
Thank
talking.
you.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
All right.
Bye.